Well, howdy there, y'all. Yamasaki here. Welcome back to the channel. And today, it's about high and mighty time that I get back to showing you guys the progress on my 1980 Toyota 4x4 pickup. So let's get to it. Holy cow, guys. I will say before I get this video started that I went onto my little YouTube channel and was looking at how long ago the last upload on this thing was. And it was 8 freaking months ago. 8 months ago. Damn. Now, between now and then, there's been a lot that's happened to this thing. So without further ado, I'll just go ahead and start showing you guys what's been going on. So here it is. We're at the stage where this whole entire thing, the fenders, the hood, the doors, everything like that is ready for clear coat. And pretty much the only things we have left to do, and hopefully they all get done by the end of summer, is to get that engine and the transmission that's in the SR5 out and put it in my frame, and hopefully get this big giant thing up onto the frame. And this will be the last thing that we put on, because the engine and transmission will be so easy to put in without this big hunk of junk in the way that that's really the only way to do it. You know, when you're doing an off-frame restoration, put the engine and transmission in first. That way, every little thing is there that you need to work on now, instead of putting this on and then trying to put your engine and transmission in. So you guys can probably immediately see that the whole interior is practically done. I have found a windshield. That is at a shop, waiting to be put on. I'm still going to have to buy a seal. And then we're probably, I'm not sure how we're going to do it, if we're going to take it to a glass shop or if we're just going to have a tech come out here and do it while it's like this. But windshield's out of the way, and that is a good thing. And, you know, I have the paperwork in here, which this is an original 1981 Toyota truck repair manual. And it is gold, I will say. If you guys can find one of these, I would recommend picking it up, because it actually shows you things that you need to know. Goes into steering, the engine, the bodywork. I mean, you name it, that book has it. So where do I want to start? Let's start with the seats. The seats, these aren't 1980 Toyota seats. These are mid-90s Honda Civic seats that we modified to put in this truck. And it's really good now to have seats in here. We didn't have to do much work other than leave this hole here, which was an original mounting hole for the original seat, which it would have been a bench seat in this case. We had to kind of Dremel away some of the metal back here to get this bolt to fit, so there's a slightly larger hole right here. But if this was a truck that came with bucket seats, there would have actually been a nut back here behind this hole in this piece here. But since this was a bench seat, it didn't have that. So that's pretty much, you know, simple on both sides. You know, we bolted them to the original bolt mount here, and then we had to put a nut and bolt there. Right here, we just put a bolt. I don't know if I can show you guys right there. We put it up instead of going down, and then we just put a nut there and a nut there, and we had to kind of modify the seat itself a little bit right there. You can see where my dad welded. So that is secure there, and then I don't know if you guys can see in the back there, right there, it's just another bolt, and I'll show you on the other underside in a minute. It's just a bolt going down and a nut with a hole that we drilled into the actual floor, and then it's just a really thick heavy-duty rubber tube as a spacer, and that'll be just fine. That is a really thick piece of rubber. I'm thinking it's a 1/2 inch thick. But as you can see right there, there's where the last bolt goes for the seat, and I had to kind of cut away at this skid here, but it shouldn't really be in the way because it almost lines up with the actual skid. So it's kind of a different story over here, where as this one is on the shield here itself, it is misplaced. That is because the actual mount on the seat on this one is curved up at an angle, and this bolt is at an angle where this one is more straight down. We just kind of figured that out. Still works just fine, just a little different, but I'll show you the other side here. Same process. I lost the original, piece that actually belonged on the seat here, so we just cut out a piece of probably, I would say that's 1/8 inch thick, and then just welded it on. Still did the same thing. And then you can see the other one there. See how that one is more straight down, whereas the other one was at a slight angle. But they're in there. They're not going nowhere. And they work. I can scoot that forward, scoot this all the way forward. So seat belts work, everything like that. So that is really good news. I hit the wrong button. Come on. There we go. There we go. Now it's going to stay. Next thing you might be noticing is the dash. The dash is all complete. I still have a couple wires to hook up, but within time I will get those done. They're not really important. I mean, I just have to, let me go to the other side here. There's only a couple wires disconnected. I'm not sure where this one goes. I'm gonna have to figure that out. But the wire to my gauge cluster light dimming switch is what this is. So when your lights are on, all your lights at night, you can actually dim your gauges in here with the light, the backlight. And if it's too bright or too low or whatever, that is what this does. And then my cigarette lighter. Really, I don't even know if this thing will even work if it's plugged in, and I really have no use for it. So even if I leave that unplugged, it's not going to be hurting anything. But like I've said in the previous videos, guys, everything that is on these old early 80s Toyota pickup dashes are connected to the actual dash metal frame right here. And that hides all your electrical components, your wiring harness, everything like that. And these plates come off within a few screws. All of these ones. This one does. The gauge cluster comes out. It's just all a couple of machine screws, pretty much. We fixed this. We welded this right here. Pounded it down and welded it. It's still a little bowed right in this area, but I don't think that's really going to hurt anything. Still have to put the cluster in because most of the stuff that's in this truck now is SR5 based, so we're going to need that extra set of clusters right here. These trucks that didn't come, that weren't the SR5 with the 22R or anything like that, don't have a bracket that's needed right here that we're going to have to make. And that's how that gauge cluster mounts, aside from that little bracket there. And then there's another one that goes right here on your actual climate control system. But I got the dash pad in, and it's siliconed on to the original SR5 dash pad, because you can see that blue, that was the theme color of the SR5. So there's a few, blue things that you're going to see. Like right here, I robbed this little seat belt cover plastic, and it's blue too. The other one is actual original tan. These little rocker panel plastics, they were the original color, but I painted them, and you really can't even tell a difference in color. I mean, they still look really good. That's pretty much it for the dash and the seats and inside of here. I did some siliconing. I put some silicone, some new silicone, because all the silicone where these seams are was just cracking and falling apart. I can actually probably give you an example of what the original silicone looked like. And I just kind of patched it up where it was really bad around this area. And I did the same on the other side in the same places. So that's all good to go. And this is in fact the same silicone stuff that I used on the dash pad here. Moving on to the engine bay, there was quite a bit that has gone on since then. Got a new brake booster, new cylinder booster, mounted the power steering reservoir, and I'll get into detail on that. There's the ignition coil and switch, got a new battery cable because the other one I robbed was just too far gone, so Napa will have these. It's a 10-inch negative battery cable, if anybody's wondering. Found the original battery tray in one of the other trucks in the backyard, so I stole that. We got the windshield wiper motor in, as well as the actual windshield rods. And somebody did comment on the previous video, and we actually found this out, me and my dad did, that the way you can get these things in here is you fish them through that end all the way through, and then this panel helps you get them up into their actual spots here. So that is all done. I got the other headlight bezel on, both of them on. The power steering reservoir, these the early 80s pickups that had no power steering, just had a base 22R and a 4-speed, they did not have these mounting holes. And let me see here if I can pull up that photo that I took of that power steering piece. Let's see. So right here is on that SR5. And as you can see, factory power steering holes right there, and right there. And then you would have your windshield wiper reservoir right here. But the early 80s pickups had no such holes here. So we had to drill through them, buy some bolts and nuts, and we still have to weld them on. That's why there's bare metal here. My dad's going to have to just tack weld these on, and then I can just put some primer on there. It's never going to be shown because it's going to be hiding behind the fender. So that is now bolted on there, which is nice. We found some of these. These are called U-nuts, and they're not wanting to come off, but the original ones were metal, 10mm size hex, but that's not the actual size of the bolt. These are plastic, and you would use, like, I don't know, plastic screws or whatever, thick ones. But I think I saw at Murdoch's that they sell these, so I'm going to try and find some that are like these metal ones. That's nice. I just dropped it. Luckily, I see it right there. So I'm going to pick it up later. But, yeah, we found some of these, but we're going to switch them over to metal just because they'll last longer. I did move this seat forward here. I was able to find original tire jack mounting hardware in that blue sunroof truck. As you can see there, it's got a plate and a washer and a wing nut. So that's where that jack would go. It would slot on this slot right here, and then you would clamp it down on here. I don't know where I set the jack, or I would have already put it in here. So it's around here somewhere, and it will be installed later on. But there's been a pretty good amount of progress that's gone on with this thing, guys. And it's coming together really well. My dad reckons that it'll probably be another winter, another summer, and I'll probably have this thing on the road. So really excited. We're getting progress done. It's looking more and more beautiful. Oh, and then there's one more thing I gotta show you. Hang on, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get on this creeper and show you because it's just going to be a lot easier. So stay tuned. Alright, so we are on the creeper now. And it might be hard to see, but I have undercoated the entire underside of this truck here. I have missed some spots. I missed a good amount of spots. But there are some other spots which I didn't actually Herculine. And you can see there's my paint tray. It's all dried up and everything by now, but there was a lot of spots that didn't have the original liner, and it looks kind of more like that where the fender well is there, that I had to go over with this stuff, and I didn't do the best job, but it's gonna hold up just fine. There are some spots that I purposely didn't go over because of the fact that the original liner was still on, and it's really tough and stuck on there. And if it's been on there for almost 40 years now, it's probably going to be on there for another 40. And so it's mainly all covered, which is good. So no more rust problems out of this thing. You see, I did good in some spots and didn't do well in other spots, but for the most part, as long as it's waterproof and keeping water from completely destroying this cab, I think it's a job well done. Another thing I did forget to show is right here. This is where some bad rust was forming, was along where this, I don't know, support for the roof goes or whatever. So I went over, I hand painted this here. I taped it all off and everything, made sure that no paint. I actually originally, before I put primer or paint on, I took some Evaporust, and there's some proof of that right here. Some sticky stuff that kind of dripped down, but it doesn't really matter. It's not going to be showing or anything. But I put some Evaporust on here. I taped some paper towels, try and get some of that rust out of there. And it did okay. It didn't do the best. It's not really designed for that, but I went over and I did some primer, and then I did some paint. And, you know, to be honest, from far away, you can hardly ever tell the difference. It's not perfect. I still gotta kind of get up through these cracks here, which I will do in a little bit of time as time goes on, like I said. But for the most part, that's pretty much all the progress that we've done on this thing, guys. I will be doing more videos as time goes on, but yeah, that's pretty much what we've gotten done so far. My dad is currently working on his '86 Toyota pickup. I will have to do a review on it. I cannot speak tonight. I don't know what is wrong with me. But I'm going to have to do a review on it sometime in the future, so be sure and stay tuned for that. He's just currently painting it, you know, taking all the fenders, the hood, all the doors off. We're soon going to be taking the bed off. He's painting it, repainting it, because he repainted it about 20 years ago. And it got really all chipped and cracked, and so he wants to make it look really good. So that's what he's going to do. But like I said, guys, you know, pretty much it's now just getting the engine, the transmission, and the cab all on the body, and then there's finishing up the loose ends, and pretty soon I'm going to have this thing on the road, and it's going to be a really, really fun truck. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment for more content, and Yamasaki out. See y'all later. Stay tuned for more Toyota videos.